Emisiune realizată cu sprijinul Camerei de Comerț și Industrie a României.
Bună seara, dragii mei! Bună seara, stimați telespectatori ai Ambasador România! În seara aceasta avem un invitat cu totul special, care nu este ambasador, dar care reprezintă o țară prietenă a României, o țară față de care România și-a asumat responsabilități, o țară față de care România și-a asumat suport, sprijin în perioada care urmează, care a trecut prin vremuri grele, care a avut de-a face cu războaie, din nefericire, în ultimii ani, dar care acum este pe drumul cel bun, încearcă să adere la NATO, la Uniunea Europeană și este o țară mică, dar o țară extrem de importantă, unde creștinismul, în zona în care se află, a rămas o insulă, dacă vreți, de creștinism acolo. Și sunt oameni calzi, oameni darnici, oameni, cum vreți dumneavoastră să-i vedem, așa cum ne vedem pe noi, îi vedem și pe ei. L-am avut invitat pe ambasadorul acestei țări de mai multe ori, pe ministrul afacerilor europene, iar astăzi invitatul meu este ministrul apărării din Georgia. Ministrul apărării în Georgia, spre surprinderea noastră, România a primit și o lecție în sensul acesta, este o femeie. Și este o femeie de 42 de ani, Tina Khidasheli. Și cred că România și alte state au ce învăța din acest exemplu. Nu este vorba despre feminism sau de a promova feminitatea sau femeile. Este vorba despre normalitate. Despre a accepta că există o anumită egalitate atunci când vine vorba despre funcțiile de decizie într-un guvern. România ne excelă, din păcate, în acest domeniu. Dar, pentru că vorbim de Georgia și l-am avut pe ambasadorul Georgiei, un foarte bun diplomat, invitat de atâtea ori la Ambasador România, dați-mi voie să nu lungesc introducerea și să încep discuția cu invitatul meu. Minister, thank you very much for being here. I informed my viewers who are you. I said very few things about you. I let you discover yourself more to them. But I mentioned that Romania is a great friend of your country, and that we assume the role, Romania, of support for you in your road to the EU, to NATO, that you passed difficult moments, like the war you had with Russia, the difficulties you still have with Russia, and also that Georgia represents not only a friend of Romania, but also we have something in common. Your people, our people are very friendly, very open, very warm. And of course, we have something more in common, even though you are in an area where Christianity is not really, you are not surrounded by Christianity. We exclude Russia here. You managed to remain an island of Christianity in Georgia. First of all, thank you. And let me welcome you, because I understand you just arrived 2 hours ago here. Your first meeting is with Ambassador Romania talk show, and I'm very proud of that. And I want to say, first of all, thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much. I hope you said only good things about my country, and I believe so. Thank you for inviting. It's an honor for me to be addressing, first of all, your program and the people who are watching this program. Absolutely, Romania is probably one of those countries we always take for granted. To say honestly, yes. Because there has been more than 2 decades now of friendship, partnership, support, standing together with us in all difficult times and good times. And I think that a quarter of century is good enough for trying each other and believing in each other. On top of it, Romania is a contact country for us in NATO. Which obviously makes this friendship even more formal and even more important for us. It's been every forum, every ministerial, every events, on both sides of Brussels, at the European Union and NATO, that you always know once the Romanians turn on the microphone, you can leave the room. Everything is said. Okay. You have a friend there. who is there for you.
Like
And
the
thank you
Georgians
very
have a
much.
friend there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
thank you very much for that to your people and your government.
Also, thank you. Now, let me go in more straight and direct
Sure.
questions. You are the Minister of Defense of Georgia. You are, as Romanian, neighbor with the Black Sea. Do you count, of course, I suppose you count on Romania, but do you count also on Turkey in your efforts to defend your country? Because now I'm trying to think strategically. You had an aggression from Russia, and you need to think strategically. Who can defend your country? And NATO is one of the organizations that can do that. It's the only one actually which can oppose Russia. But within NATO are countries and countries. And I want to understand if if in your process to be member of NATO, if you think of your neighbors, and I mentioned Turkey or Romania neighbor because we are neighbors with the Black Sea, both of us, if you see them closer, or if you believe that the United States, which is far away, or I know you have a very good relation now, your government with also the former government, but the new government has a very good relation with Washington, or Brussels, or you count more on the neighbors in your defense?
Well, first of all, we count on our own people, most of all.
We could see that in 2008.
Yeah, and not only 2008, and it's not only the war. You defend your country every day, because war is not something that we aim at. It's just the opposite. Defending our country for Georgians, for the both Georgian government and the people, means working every day for preventing it from happening. And deterrence is the best defense that we are working all together today. Georgian government has announced, its current government has announced it from the very first day in power, that the policy we have is of a strategic patience. Because we all understand these threats, we all understand...
Strategic patience?
Yes.
Interesting, okay.
We
you can develop that, that would be nice.
Absolutely, we can go in details of that. Because if you are a responsible country in today's world, which is full of surprises, unfortunate surprises, and just last week's events in Brussels proved it once again, or this week's events in my neighborhood, I believe that a country like Georgia, or country like Romania, or any other country for that matter, should be working for peace rather than for anything else. That's the defense strategy for Georgia. But when we talk about the partners, yes, United States is the one most important strategic partner for Georgia. Throughout the years of independence, throughout the years of hardship, wars, troubles, hunger, we have experienced all of it for these 25 years. United States was there in humanitarian terms, supporting financially, supporting by expertise, supporting institutional building in the country, you name it.
Yeah.
Turkey, absolutely so. Turkey is once again our strategic partner, and this is the partnership that we value the most. Turkey is the #1 trade partner for Georgia, for example, if we go into statistics and into the facts. And obviously it makes all the difference for the Georgian economy and for development of the country. There are different areas we can talk about, kinds of partnerships that we have developed throughout these 25 years with different countries. And all of them are equally important, all of them are equally valuable for us, but they have their own niche. You mentioned Georgia being a Christian island in that part of the world. It is not actually true, because we have another Christian neighbor in that part of the world, which is Armenia.
Armenia, of course, but Armenia already has a Russian base.
No, I understand that, but just
as
a matter of Christianity,
okay, yes,
there
that's
are
true.
2 Christian nations in the Caucasus. And that is also very important. I mentioned Armenia not only because of that, but in spite of the fact that we see different destinations for ourselves. We go different ways in terms of foreign policy. We have a very good partnership and neighborhood relationship with Armenia as well. Georgia is a country of opportunities. We see it as one state in that very troubled part of the world that has managed to have good working cooperation with all its neighbors but one. That tried and succeeded to have partnership with every country but one.
Let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
Let me come back to the discussion regarding the strategic defense. I understand, of course, you have to have a good relationship with your neighbors, but still, if we look to Armenia, they are, let's say, good traders. But at the same time, if it would be a war and again with Russia, I'm sure that I am convinced actually that Armenia would be offering the support to Russia.
No, it is not. Well,
no?
We can hypothetically talk about everything, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
People have logic and have ideas, and we can talk with our own logics and ideas. But we have experience, and experience never proved what you've just said. Armenia, neither in 2008 nor before, took sides. And this is very important for this partnership and neighborhood relationships that we have. We don't expect, and again, it's proved by experience, that our neighbors, either of them, will be taking sides, if anything happens. Fortunately, we hope that it won't happen, but if anything happens, we are pretty sure that there will be absolute neutrality from our neighbors.
Okay, let me come back to other questions. Why? Explain to us, why was Georgia a target for Russia? Because Georgia is a small country comparing with other countries, and I personally never understood why. I mean, why was so important for them to become vulnerable in front of the international community and invade your country?
I think there are lots of answers to this question. Different parts of Georgian population will answer this question differently, starting from somebody being nostalgic about Georgian wine and mineral water being theirs, which is kind of part of the joke, obviously, but there are people who will tell you that there was too much of a nostalgia about things that mattered during Soviet Union about Georgia. And then suddenly it became someone else's, and they could not give it up. There is that kind of a story as well. Okay. But talking seriously, I think that there is a very simple explanation to everything that happened between Russia-Georgia relationships over the years. Well, Baltics escaped. Mm-hmm. And there is kind of an understanding and acceptance of these facts, that forget about the Baltics. And Georgia stays as this one successful, reform-minded, European, building democracy state. If it works in Georgia, it's the best case scenario for everybody else, every single of 12 others, that it is possible. If you try hard enough, if you work hard enough, if you fight hard enough, if this fight is necessary, you will succeed.
So Russia wanted to stop the process?
You will be successful, you will be reformed, you will be democracy, you will build a welfare state. This is not allowed in that part of the world. Georgia is seen as a backyard geography. And if you are a backyard geography, then you should follow the rules set by the others. For 25 years, there is a very common sentence in Georgia. Majority of the people will tell you this sentence while talking about those issues. For 25 years, we've been dying, literally speaking, with the European Union and NATO flags in our hands. And we shall be successful on that road. And again, if it proves to be true, then there is optimism, that there will be less gray zone areas on our continent.
Okay, let me
Russia cannot allow for that kind of success. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That kind of an explanation you read the most or hear the most or listen the discussions will get the idea from. And I'm inclined to believe in that theory, that it's not about Georgia per se, or it's not about Kiev per se today in Russia-Ukraine war. It's more about everybody else. It's Moscow proving that he's in charge.
Mm-hmm. And well, if I would be the devil's advocate, I would say that the Russians invoked the Russian minority in Abkhazia and Ossetia, and of course, I know it's not true, but I want to see your arguments, because when they talked about the war, they said, well, we are just defending our people, because the majority in those areas are Russians, and we have to go and intervene because the Georgian forces were committing abuses.
Well, first of all, there never was a big or meaningful in numbers, Russian minority in Georgia. The only Russian minority we ever had were Russian militaries and their family members, who left immediately as the Russian bases withdrew from Georgia. I mean, it's a statistical fact. You don't need to discuss the issue. It's there. It's in the Soviet books. It's in the Soviet statistics. We never had Russian minority in Georgia. There are very simple reasons for that. Russians were in big numbers in republics where there was no second nation, so they were basically occupying that niche of the second nation. In Georgia, we have second and third nation, strong, living for centuries, very much integrated, part of the community, part of the society. There was no room for a second nation by Soviet theory. That's why we never had the Russian-speaking minority or Russian minority in Georgia. That's the factual truth. The other factual truth is that if we talk about Abkhaz,
yes,
as those whose cause Russia has supported, again, it's a statistical truth found in Soviet books that Abkhaz were only 17% of the population. So again, this is the statistics that is important. When it comes to South Ossetia, we had, out of entire Ossetian population in Georgia, 80% of Ossetians lived outside South Ossetia, not in South Ossetia.
I understand, but Minister, because we are coming closer to a commercial break, I understand your point. Why Russia?
The point is just that they were not called by anybody. It was just a deliberate.
Okay, but why did the Russians said that they were majority in those two regions?
Well,
I mean, but what I know is
what
that
are the answers about the little green man? Why?
The green man
there
in
is no
Crimea.
answer to the question why somebody says this or says that. You need to legitimize your actions. And if you are in this process of legitimizing aggression, legitimizing occupation, legitimizing violation of international law, all the standards available out there agreed upon after the Second World War, then you need to invent the stories. The only problem is that those stories are not supported statistically by their own, once again I repeat, by the Soviet statistics. I'm not even talking about the Georgian statistics, but by the Soviet statistics. It's very easy. It's a simple thing. It's not even serious to discuss this issue. It's so obvious, and nobody.
Well, I'm putting it on the agenda because it was put by the Russians.
No, I know. I'm just saying if you go by facts.
Yes. The next question is about what happens in the two regions, which are recognized only by Russia as independent or so-called independent.
And Venezuela, to be absolutely correct.
Yes. They are in a good company. Okay, both of them are very democratic countries, Venezuela and Russia. And my question to you is, what is happening in the two regions? Because I know that Russia started to build up some bases, army bases. Are still continuing to do that?
Two different stories. In Abkhazia, yes, they've built the new or rebuilt the old Soviet military bases, and this process is on. We have Russian regular army standing there, defending their independence and statehood. South Ossetia, it's a little bit different because they basically turned the entire territory of South Ossetia in one big military base. Today South Ossetia is a piece of the land in this continent which is populated by Russian soldiers, their family members, and those who serve those military bases. This is what today's South Ossetia is. And on top of it, there is this political elite, which is calling itself presidents and parliamentarians and playing the state business.
Where are the Georgians?
Georgians are expelled, and not only expelled, Georgians were expelled from there since the First War in South Ossetia. But the difference from before 2008 and after 2008, major differences are two. One, in 2008, September, October, and this is very important, that it's September, October, after the end of the war, after the end of the military action. Georgian villages were physically bulldozed by the Russian troops. By that, eliminating the entire Georgian existence in South Ossetia. Even if there was a solution, or even if there was some confidence-building measures were working, there is no place to go back for those IDPs. And two?
Yes. Oh, just a second, Minister. Sorry,
Sure.
It's capitalism. We have to. You are a politician. You are used with this. I apologize. We have to take a short break of commercials, and we come back with the discussion about what is happening in Ossetia and Abkhazia. And before that, I will make the announcement that we have the short, our short part of the talk show, which is done by my colleague Adriana, and she'll present a nice story about a Georgian family living here and the Georgians living in Romania as well, and as well as about the Georgia in general, because Romanians need to know more about our neighbors, which are not very far, by the way. There are not so much knowledge. It's not so much knowledge in Georgia about Romania, and the reverse, even though we are not very far from each other.
On the other side of the sea.
It's just on the other side of the sea, exactly. But I will give now the floor to my colleague Adriana for the story, and we will be back with you. Publicitate.